Hi, I'm Marcy, and I'm here to tell you my unexpected farm story. You see, I grew up in the city and only had a goldfish. And now I have 5 kids and live on a 10-acre farm. We have sheep, quail, chickens, goats, and a small pug named Biscuit. How did I get here, do you ask? Well, when I first got married, my husband had decided that he wanted to have a sheep. And we lived in an apartment, and I thought he was absolutely crazy. And I said, where are we going to put this sheep, and how are we going to afford to feed it? Well, he was very passionate about livestock, very passionate about farming because he grew up on a farm. So he found a way. He leased a pasture and he bought a sheep, and we named it Cloud. We lived in a small apartment, and every day we would travel over and feed this little sheep named Cloud. At first, I thought it was absolutely crazy. And then when our first child came along and she was infatuated with that little sheep, then I decided that it was okay. After some time, we ended up being able to have our first home. And we had a little bit of land with that. And with that little bit of land, we squeezed in as many animals as possible. We went from every range of livestock that you can think of, and we grew and raised animals right alongside with our family. Each of our 5 kids have grown up on a farm, and they have had to feed animals rain or shine. During this process of feeding their animals, their character has grown. They've learned responsibility, they've learned perseverance, and they've learned that they have to have the discipline to be able to take care of something far bigger than they are. You always hear that growing up on the farm is the best way to grow up, and I have to agree. I wasn't that way. I didn't grow up on a farm, but raising my children that way, I've seen a huge contrast, a very big change. The work ethic that you learn by having the responsibility of daily chores is phenomenal. Here I am 28 years later, living on a 10-acre farm. My 5 children are almost all grown and out of the house. And now I decide that it's my turn to do chores. So this comes into being of where the Diamond Bee Hatching came from. When we decided as a family that we wanted to raise animals, most of the time those animal projects were for my kids, and I would take care of everything inside. But when all of my children decided to grow up and they moved out of the house, no one was there to take care of the chickens that I loved, and I decided that I had to step up and do the job. You see, I love fresh eggs. I love to cook. And every day my son would go out and take care of the chickens until one day he decided that he was going to move on to another project. For a little while, I decided to buy store-bought eggs, but as you know, there's no comparison. I stepped up and I bought 25 hens, and they all came as little hatchlings in the mail. I raised those chicks in my garage until they were old enough to go outside. And then as they grew, I was the one that gathered the eggs, and I was the one that cooked them up fresh. Now I have a grandson. As the next generation came in, I decided that it was important to teach them the character building techniques of having a farm. We had our very first incubator hatching of baby quail, and my grandson was here to witness it. And the light in his eyes, it was unforgettable. That's why I am doing what I'm doing. I've decided to go ahead and rent out kits so that everyone can experience what we have, because you can't experience it from reading a book or looking at a screen. This has to be real life. So from growing up and only having a goldfish to ending up on a farm with having all of the animals and raising my kids to understand the value of hard work and what it takes to be able to raise animals, I've decided that it's my passion to teach that to others. I started with my own kids, and I want to help yours now. This is a time for you to be able to experience a little piece of the farm life in your home, and that's what I'd love to help you to do. I'm excited for you to pick up your own kit, for you to be able to experience hatching chicken or quail, and I will be there every step of the way to help you succeed and have a memorable experience.